More top commanders of the Chinese military are investigated, including sanctioned defense minister and vice chairman of the Central Military Commission. Insiders reveal Xi Jinping traveled to BRICS with a 500-member team and all furnitures from China. The fear is real. Welcome to China Insider, I'm David Zhang. Today we'll discuss more news surrounding China's top-ranked military officials disappearing and why Xi's paranoia may be reaching pinnacle level. Before we go on to the defense minister, while at the G20 was going on in New Delhi, Xi Jinping was traveling to northeastern China visiting a military institute. And there's a huge implication in this, so I'll talk about it in the second half. So stay tuned for that. Now, because this all ties together as to what's going on in Xi's mind, we'll start with the defense minister. Now, Li Shangfu is the defense minister, and he's been missing from the public eye since at least August 31st, when he last hosted a China-Africa Peace and Security Forum in China. And the U.S. ambassador to Japan also tweeted out, questioning why Li Shangfu had been missing for 2 weeks. This all but confirmed that something fishy is going on with Li Shangfu. And since then, rumors have circulated that the Chinese defense minister and the first-ranked vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, Zhang, are both under investigation by the Central Discipline Inspection. Now, this means that Xi Jinping's continued purge of the military is reaching the top part of the Communist Military Commission, as well as the front of their defense ministry. And this comes after the rocket force got purged, including top commanders, and replaced them with an outsider from the Navy and an outsider from the Air Force. Not only was it the rocket force, but also the strategic support force, which is responsible for intelligence and force projection, as well as cyber warfare, is also being involved in the military cleanse. Now, Defense Minister Li Shangfu is equivalent to Lloyd Austin. Though he doesn't directly have control of the military, he's equal in the rank to the U.S. Defense Secretary. Whereas Zhang Youxia, the vice chairman, is the equivalent of Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. In the past episode, I had predicted that Li Shangfu was very likely the next target of Xi Jinping's so-called anti-corruption campaign in the military, because Li Shangfu was heavily involved across 3 different forces. The equipment force that he was last at, the strategic support force in which he oversaw, and the rocket force, which of course gets most of their missile equipments through the equipment acquisition force. Now, the investigation and the arrest of military personnel is a reflection of Xi's fear that his ultimate demise could come from military action. Today, Chinese investigative journalist Zhao Lijian revealed that several top Chinese arms executives are under Communist Party's discipline investigation, which of course is the top judicial body for the CCP members. These include aviation, arms, and military engineering company heads. Now, it's rather strange for a wartime country, China that is, preparing to invade Taiwan, to be actively replacing so many military personnel, and so many people were getting indicted and investigated. Now, what does the investigation of Li Shangfu and Zhang Youxia have to do with arms equipment, or the executives being investigated? Well, Li Shangfu, prior to his promotion to be a defense minister, was a longtime commander of part of the Central Military Equipment Development Commission. And prior to that, the Equipment Procurement Force, or Equipment Acquisition Force. And from the commission, it was split up into the Acquisition Force and the Strategic Support Force, in which Li Shangfu was part of both. Now, Vice Chairman Zhang Youxia was the direct commander of Li Shangfu, being his predecessor, in other words, promoted Li Shangfu through the ranks in the earlier years. Now, to simplify all this, the people all under investigation now and before have to do with one aspect of the Chinese military, and that's equipment acquisition. And that's where the excuse for the anti-corruption comes in, right? You get exposure to equipment, there's a big opportunity for you to be corrupted and take up a lot of that. Now, in fact, Li Shangfu was sanctioned back by the United States in 2008. And the reason was precisely because of his involvement with buying weapons and equipment for the People's Liberation Army. But the question is, why would Xi Jinping want to cleanse the military's equipment acquisition members? Well, it's because Li Shangfu and Zhang Youxia are both what's called the second-generation Reds, or the Red Second Generation, and their fathers were all in the military. Right now, Xi Jinping doesn't actually have a trusted side of the military that's truly to his command. And so all of the factions of the Communist Party, they sort of have an association within, or some sort of a lineage within the military, whereas Xi Jinping's control comes from the overarching sort of establishing his authority. So by replacing more and more members of the different lineages or branches of the military with his loyalists, he has successfully removed a lot of those confidence and a lot of those loyalty support to his power. And that kind of swapping leadership in the military, no matter where, if it's in the US or other countries, it doesn't really boost respect or morale to the soldiers. It actually does the opposite. It builds distrust and disloyalty. Now, the recent purge of the rocket force, which is of course responsible for strategic missile strikes and nuclear weapon launches, replacing its top generals with commanders from other forces, that's a sign that already destroyed the allegiance and the loyalty of the rocket force itself. Now, that's the purpose. It's to get rid of those people that do not show allegiance to Xi Jinping, absolutely. But what has traditionally been a cultivation of its own talents within the ranks of its existing soldiers has been broken. In fact, the ongoing investigation is the result of the initial rocket force purge. So more and more ties are being unveiled behind the scenes, and it's still ongoing. Now, being investigated obviously doesn't mean that they're necessarily charged or going to get a criminal punishment, but given the nature of equipment procurement, it's very easy to find corruption and graft there. So if it is necessary to bring some charges, it's very easy to find it, as all CCP officials are corrupted and they have some levels of tainted past to them. Now, the commander of the equipment acquisition, Li Shangfu back then, was able to access weapons and arms deals. It's an unprecedented level of access because trying to bribe their way into the military for these arms dealers, it's a for sure way to get close to power. And so him receiving some bribes it's pretty common. But it's not the main reason why Li Shangfu or Zhang Youxia could be implicated. Political allegiance is the biggest matter. However, given the recent case of Qin Gang, right, the former foreign minister who has essentially disappeared, evaporated into thin air, has they're both equally promoted fast, but also fell pretty fast. So it wouldn't surprise me if Li Shangfu would face the same fate as Qin Gang, a secret disappearance followed by a secret replacement. It's all done in the dark, so nobody knows what's really going on to get to this place. Now, of course, Xi Jinping doesn't care what outsiders think of him and his corruption investigations, because it's all about ensuring that he removes the threats to his life. Now, according to Taiwan's Up media, during a recent trip to South Africa for the BRICS summit, it revealed that Xi Jinping, as the South African police had told, it was a big preparation, which included a 500-member team to serve Xi Jinping while he was there for the week. And all of his furnitures, including the bed, couch, mattress, the bed frames, carpets, cups, and bowls, even the curtains, they've all had to be shipped from China. So nothing from South Africa could remain. In other words, Xi Jinping literally built an emperor suite from the ground up while he was there. He also he fully booked 2 hotels and had preparation a month prior to the actual event, just to ensure that he is safely protected while he is there. It's like the news that Putin has his bodyguards collect his poop on trips abroad and take it back to Russia with them. Right? Any signs of these authoritarian leaders or dictators showing weakness or weak spots is really not allowed. It's pretty funny, but also kind of sad. Right now, Xi Jinping's security is the uttermost importance to the CCP. Now, like the US president who has the security details with the Secret Service, the planning aspect is understandable. But to say that you're going to have a 200-man team and has everything shipped from China to South Africa, right? Oh, sorry, not 200, 500-member team present, that seems pretty insane. Now, not just that one instance. It was revealed by Hong Kong's pro-CCP newspaper, Ming Pao, that in an interview with a former chef who was tasked with preparing for Xi Jinping's 2014 trip to Tajikistan, his restaurant provided all 3 meals for the 200-member delegation there, including the staff at the Chinese embassy in Tajikistan. Now, according to chef Ren Jianrong, quote, "We barely slept for days and nights, constantly cutting vegetables. I prepared the ingredients, took a nap in the restaurant when I was tired, and made 10 meals." Now, get this. Ren Jianrong revealed that the political pressure is really big. He said that all the cooking staff had to have their 3 generations of family history checked to see if they've ever been branded an anti-revolutionary. Imagine that. If you wanted to cook for Xi Jinping, you have to be sure that your grandpa, your dad, and yourself have all carefully studied all of Mao's books, Xi Jinping's books, as well as Deng Xiaoping's books, or whoever comes after that. Can you imagine that? It's so crazy, right? It seems that the paranoia over this personal safety has only escalated since 2014. And I mean, 200 back then, now it's 500. But all this points to one conclusion. Xi Jinping is very scared that he will die in an assassination attempt or at the hands of his own military. And there seems to be another sign that this military purge is one that's related to Xi Jinping's personal fear. But before we go on to talk about why Xi Jinping skipped the G20 and then went to northeastern China instead, let me do a quick advertisement. Recently, I've been recommending people the Derma Roller face mask, and surprisingly, a lot of people actually bought it, and now they're temporarily out of stock. Normally, I wouldn't be selling skincare stuff on this channel, considering it's about China, but I've noticed that it provided me with some really big benefits. The mask provides intense hydration, and for me personally, it matters a lot because I have quite sensitive skin. So for wearing makeup on camera and then having to wash my face pretty often is quite damaging. So the mask, what I do is for once a week, I wear it for about 10 minutes, and it feels like my face is drinking a Gatorade. So it's very hydrating, and especially if you're a guy and you want to start a skincare routine, this would be a great first step, because for once a week for 10 minutes, and you get really good moisturization. Now, the funny thing is, now that I've ran out, I actually started getting more breakouts, so I'm also waiting to buy more when they have the stock again. The mask has been shipped from Germany, and I'm told that it will arrive in about 10 to 15 days. So if you pre-order now, it will be shipped to you a week after it arrives in the inventory. And if you order early, of course, you'll get it earlier than other people. So check out the link in the description. You'll get 15% off all products and free shipping for orders over $70 in the US. Okay, now back to the video. Now, Xi Jinping decided he would not attend the G20 in New Delhi, but around the same time, he then traveled to northeastern China. Right? Premier Li Keqiang took his place at G20, and there's been a lot of speculation as to why. Now it seems very clear because Xi Jinping is afraid of international travel. All right? The fear of being assassinated. He could be flying in a plane and then suddenly a missile goes boom, like what happened with Prigozhin, or if you know Chinese history, with General Lin Biao when he tried to escape to Russia, on his way he was shot down by a missile. Now, him also missing that key economic event in South Africa during the BRICS summit is also a really interesting, weird thing that happened. Now, he recently made the trip to North China. I think personally that he took a train instead of a plane. Mao Zedong was also famously known for being afraid of flying because he was afraid that somebody's going to take him out. He had so many political enemies. And so he took trains everywhere he went. And Xi Jinping also being afraid, right? Being shot down from the sky. In particular, Xi's trip was, one of the stops was to speak with the teachers at the Harbin Engineering University. And that university is one of the 2 blacklisted colleges for their close ties to the military. And it reflects the point that Xi's focus, again, is to boost military readiness. He wants to find some sort of good, loyal next generation of students from these technology university. But then this particular one is known to provide technology to support programs of the People's Liberation Navy. Right, so the Navy. Now, in 2017, 36% of this university's graduates found employment in the defense sector. Now, more than half of its graduates go into military industrial companies. And the engineering school is heavily tied with the Navy and provided key tech personnel for the construction of its aircraft carriers. And the school's predecessor was actually the Chinese People's Liberation Army Military Engineering College, or called the Harbin Military Engineering, which was founded in 1953. And then in 1970, the staff in the Naval Engineering Department created their shipbuilding program. And ever since then, they've provided key personnel for China's Navy. And so it's really weird that Xi is now moving to focus more on the Navy after he's done cleansing all of the rocket force and so on. It's not like he just really wants to focus on the Navy, but one of the reasons is because when you go and invade Taiwan, the Navy is the most important aspect, but also because I think that's where he's placing a lot of his confidence in the people not able to immediately kill him, if you know what I mean. But the strange part was that while he was there, all of the building's security cameras had to be covered up. All the building's windows had their blinds drawn down. All the students were told to stay inside. And the security around Xi's attendance is really bizarre. The sewer caps had to be taped down. And then the students that were actually shown on the streets were shipped in with buses. So they're likely, these actors or people that are told to do whatever they're doing. And so it's another sign that Xi is really afraid to appear in public, even in the country. He went to go visit a university to speak with the staff, and yet he still needs this level of security. It's not the first time, right? Every time there's some sort of an event where he speaks publicly, he gets like 300 staff to try to encircle him with security detail. So, I mean, no one's able to go near him anyways, unless they have security clearance, but he manages to clear everything out. In particular, I wonder why they had to cover the CCTV cameras. The only answer I can think of is if it's somehow somebody can hack into the system and find the footage and find out his position. But this is in his own country. This isn't even, in South Africa or North Korea or anywhere else. Why would he be so paranoid in China? Now, if we combine all that has happened today, the arrest, the investigation, right? Top defense secretary, top vice chairman of the military commission, the rocket force, the strategic support force, all facing DNA level investigation into their conducts and corruption. Most of these people were actually elevated to the ranks by Xi himself. So to suggest that every single one of them wants to go out and kill Xi Jinping, that's really far-fetched. So it's a loyalty issue, but it's one that's more paranoid than actually evidence-based. If there was a coup attempt, it wouldn't be everybody sitting together in a restaurant or some secret basement and planning it out, right? It would be one person. Now, what do I mean by all of this that I've said today? Well, if you ever read Harry Potter, you know that Voldemort actually believes in the prophecy that he and Harry Potter are tied together, right? One must die so the other can live. But precisely because he committed so many actions to create the condition for which the prophecy becomes true, in the end, he did fall to Harry in the final battle. I just realized something because last episode I said that the CCP leaders, they all believe in prophecies, and despite being atheist, right, they secretly believe in the stories that would predict their downfall. Xi Jinping is personally very much into that, so he's told that he will die while in office, potentially at the hands of his own military. But the way to break this is simply just step down, stop hoarding power, and just go retire. But he won't. So that bird that crashes into the mountain, right, definitely could not be himself. But precisely because he has created those conditions which describes himself as such, this is going to ring true. So this is like a loop that I'm talking about. The more generals are investigated and found guilty, it means more and more are going to be investigated and found guilty. So the next person is going to be scared enough to create a chain reaction in which the ever-growing anti-corruption implicates an ever-growing list of generals, and then one day, one guy is going to be so fed up, he's actually going to do something about it. And then in itself, it actually creates the prophecy that's true. That's what happens if Xi Jinping doesn't stop the purge. But he can't because he's too paranoid from somebody trying to kill him. He doesn't know who. Is it the people he trusted or the people he doesn't trust? Who is the one that he trusts? No one's escaping this bloody mess in the CCP because Xi Jinping's obsession with his own demise or the prevention of it is showing its true colors. All right, that's it for today's episode on discussing China's top CCP officials, particularly the defense officials, are now facing investigations. And I believe it is a big continuation of Xi Jinping's own fear. All right, if you enjoy the content, make sure to leave a like, comment below your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel. As always, I want to hear what you think about this situation. Do you think that Xi's actually this paranoid, or am I just making things up? Let me know in the comments. All right, until next time, I'm David Zhang, this is China Insider. Bye-bye.